Hey, what's going on, car guys and car gals? Welcome back to the cafe. This is Lou Ramirez, the car guy.
And this is Fredlin Arts, the subprime hero.
And we are brewing solutions on the Car Guy Coffee podcast. Hopefully you can hear me now. But folks, it is time to have an incredible time. So excited to be back here in the studio.
I know I've missed Lou. It's been over a week and I haven't seen him. And now that we're finally together, and he literally took the week of, we didn't do any social media together. We didn't do any videos together.
I had to put it on rest.
It was very difficult for me.
Yes, he was having fun. Like, no, I can't take
what am I doing? I am not, my rhythm is off right now. But no, it's all good, man. He needs that time off. We all need a little break here and there, right? It's a good time to get with your family, share. His son's getting ready to go off to play college football in another state, a few states over. So
3 weeks in a couple of days.
Yeah, and so it is the right time to do that. It was the perfect time to do that. The weather was great. I'm so glad you got to go to visit different parts of the country that you haven't had a chance to really stop and visit and do that with your family and see some things. So I'm glad you had to do that, even though I was going through withdrawals.
Yeah, it's okay.
Bro,
be back, my friend.
We
make it back.
That's what I'm talking about.
And now that we're back, we're going to continue this trend going where we interview the best of the best. We brew with the best beans
we always do
in the industry. But we want to make sure that you get some of the best beans in the industry here inside of the cafe with us. So this is your opportunity to tag a car guy, tag a car gal.
Do it.
Tag as many friends.
I'm sharing it right now as we speak. That's why I'm looking down. I'm sharing it on my thing. I'm sharing.
Share. Make sure that you get your friends up in here because we have an incredible guest that is going to brew your socks off. I don't even know what that means, but it's going to be exciting, okay? Because she is going to bring some solutions to your cup that you need to be sipping on, okay?
Amen.
Dealerships need to be sipping on some of the solutions that she is bringing, and we want to make sure that you get the best experience possible. So bring some of your friends. Go ahead and tag some of your enemies.
Do it.
If you got any. But if you want to have some solutionaries really inside of this room, go ahead and get them in here with us because we have a very, very incredible guest. And we're going to go ahead and yell her name real quick just so that she gets up in here and knows how much we honor her. We saw her up at Digital Dealer.
We did.
We saw her live, folks.
She was real on life. The big stage.
Big.
We were on the small stage having fun. She was on the big stage and she dropped some dimes. She dropped some dimes like Chris Paul. Not his shots. She mentioned his shots the other time on my post that he missed every shot the other night. Love you, Chris Paul. Respect. And I want him to get his championship. He deserves a championship. But you got to make some of those shots, man. You got to make some of those.
Gotta hit 'em.
I don't care how good your dribbles and your passes looked. Make some of those shots. It'd be the difference. But anyway, that being said, she was dropping dimes out there. She was just dropping all kinds of knowledge. It was literally a panel of women that were just mind-boggling of what they had to say and what they were talking about, well beyond their years, well beyond their everything. You know, she is definitely doing things that are creative. I'm so excited to have her on the show. I mean, she is the corporate internet and marketing director. Come on now. And guess what? She kind of made that up. Anyway, we're not talk about that later. We're not going to spill too much.
We can't let too much out.
But she is so creative that position became because of her creativity, right? And I know that, and that's what it takes for that type of role for a dealership, which is needed in this world. Because right before the show, I told her, I said, I'm so glad you do that because your dealership does that. She goes, well, and then she told us a little bit of beans. We'll talk about that later, but that position is so needed across the nation. So I'm excited that she's doing this. I'm excited she's on my show. I'm excited that she was on the big stage. And now we have her here in our little camera in the cafe. We're going to have some fun. We're going to get caffeinated together. Let's do this.
Car guys, car gals, and all you solutionaries that are out there, help us to welcome the one, the only,
April Simmons.
What? Hey everyone, how are you doing?
Awesome. I'm so glad you're here. You are in the cafe. You are everything. Folks, the conversation we had just a few moments before this, I could tell she's a firecracker ready to go off. And I just can't wait because you never know when it's going to pop. You know, when you light it, you're like, when's it? And then it does. So we're going to have that situation tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun. But before we do anything, there's always something that we always do. It's called the 3 F's, right? It's very important because it's a secret handshake that gets you initiated into the solutionary family. And I love hashtag solutionary family. When you are part of that, it's a big deal. And that's what you are. You're a solutionary and you're doing things to change the business, to change the lives of people at your store, in your community, and much further. And that's what it's about. So glad you're here tonight, April Simmons.
Welcome.
What? I'm so excited to be here. I feel super honored to just, be in this space with you guys. So I appreciate it very much.
Oh,
All right, let's get to the F's, shall we?
Let's get to these F's.
Come on.
Talking
I
about.
love it. I love
Folks,
it.
you all know the deal. When I got back to the dealership, the guys were excited. They were like, you know what we didn't get the chance to do, Lou? It's to apply 3 F's to our lives, and that's to forgive, focus, fly. So we were so excited to do it together today. So now we get to do it with the one and only April Simmons. So everybody, let's wipe off the weight of unforgiveness. Let's focus on what it is that we can do, want to do, and are going, and let's fly on 3. 1, 2, 3. Forgive.
Focus. Fly. And keep growing. Keep growing. Keep growing. That's my friend. You are now in the club. You are part of the secret initiation. You're part of the family.
Woohoo.
By the family. Yeah, that's right. Well, welcome to the cafe. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Wow, this is going to be a lot of fun. We have 5 questions we love to ask everyone, right? Now, I have a feeling tonight we're going to have some time to do some other things, so I'm excited about that. But this 5 questions are just everything to me. It's called the 5-liner. So the first question, the most important question out of all the questions out there, they're all important, but I'll say this with every question I ask.
They're all his favorite.
They're all my favorite. So what is your why? What is your purpose? What drives you every single day to be the best version of April Simmons?
Okay, so I thought a lot about this because I knew this was one of your big questions, but I did. I put a lot of energy into it, and I thought, what is my why? And I thought, you know what? It changes. It changes every day. I think there's that spot where we all have to realize that our why isn't always, it's not one big why. Sometimes it's 50 whys today. Tomorrow it's 10 whys. Sometimes it changes. But my big why, my deep rooted why is my need to help people. I genuinely actually like to help people. And it's funny because a lot of people who meet me outside of the car business, when they find out what I do, they're like, really? You sell cars? Because you seem like way too honest and way too nice. There's no way you sell cars, right? So people are surprised that that's what I do. So that's one of my big whys. My other huge why, and this was the one that took me a little bit longer to come to full fruition, so to speak, is problem solving. So I love, I literally, that's my get off space, is when I can solve a problem, and especially if somebody else couldn't. And when I went really way back into when did I feel most appreciated? When was I like, yes, I did it? It's when I solved a problem. And whether it was one of those, 9-page algebra problems, or it was a psychology test in one of my classes in high school that I was like, I got it. And I actually did, which it was really super cool. But those are the things that it's the problem solving. I love problem solving. And so the car business, when I really transitioned into what about problem solving do I like, it's everything. Every part of every day is problem solving. Being creative and penciling a deal, getting that creativity where you're like, okay, they want to be $500 a month. I'm at $950. How can I make this work and make their dreams come true and get them into this car and make that work? And you get creative in the structure of a deal. You find that way to say, maybe a lease is great for this customer, or I understand the math so I can figure out how to make this work for them. Or is it the, problem solving with your customers where you're literally trying to say, hey, I went so far one time that I sat down, actually not one time, multiple times, but I went so far as to actually do a budget with the customer because they were so nervous about taking on a car payment because they hadn't had one. And they were so nervous about it. And I said, hey, let's sit down and let's look at everything. It's okay. And we did. We said, here's your income. Let's talk about, okay, do you rent? Do you own? What's your payment? How much do you pay on food? Went through the whole thing. People don't do that. They don't go to that extreme to say, let's figure out a way to make a deal. And when you do those extra, people know you care, and suddenly you solved a problem. And I love that. I love problem solving. So I think when it all really breaks down to it, my why is solving problems.
Come on.
Oh, my goodness. You and I need to hang out more. You were dropping all kinds of stuff. You speak my language, and that's exactly right. And that's why you are special. When you truly are for other people, you love solving problems. I do. I'm the same way. I remember being in school and getting that math problem, like, and you get it right. And you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bad mamma jam.
Especially when your teacher messed it up and you're like, oh, you're wrong.
Oh
You're
my
wrong.
God, you were that. I was literally that same guy, right? You know, they either loved me or they didn't. You know, they were like, hold on, stop. No, well, actually, Mr. Professor, you know, that's incorrect, right? So that's okay, and that was part of the fun, you know, and that's kind of like why you are so excelling at where you're at, why you're able to create jobs and things like that, right? And make things happen. You're definitely showing people, like, you're right. You know, it's so creative to sit there and really go over someone's budget, because a lot of times you find that they just blow money, and they know that, and they find out that they do. Because in the real grand scheme of things, there's a reason why the bank's allowing you to purchase this car at this payment. So let's just figure out why they say it is and why you don't think it can be. And that is part of it. A lot of them, oh, I need to go home and do it. Why? We could do it right now. Let's quit wasting time, right? And that is a solutionary, and that is somebody who brews solutions and doesn't percolate problems. And I love that you're doing that when you're creative and you're using your mind, and that is what makes you special. And I love that about you. So I'm so glad you're here talking about that. That is your special superpower, right? And that's what your why, and that's why you are able to excel. If you correlate everything to that, I'm solving a problem, I'm a solution, I'm get a solution for this issue. You know that you can do it, because you've done it over and over again, even if it's something completely out of left field that you've never seen before. And you know that it's a problem, I could solve it. You know, I'm vanilla.
If you got a problem, I'll solve it. We're all in the 90s. Yeah, that's right.
Right. So I love we are. So I love that. I love that you picked that up. So that's good. So once again, solutionary, very much
completely a solutionary. But there's something that's inside of that thread, folks, that people do discount, is that somebody does get excited when the problem presents itself. Some people get scared stiff. They don't know how to act. They see a problem. It's an obstacle. It's a challenge to them. They get stuck. Where April is getting eager. April's getting excited.
Yeah.
Here's the challenge. Here's the next mountain to conquer. Here's the next enemy to take down, right? Here's the next challenge to see ourselves rise up and discover ourselves in. There's so many people that get the chance to find themselves inside of the challenge that makes them doubt themselves. But when they actually face it with a reason to succeed, with a reason to find the solution, not scared, not worried, but faith-filled and focused on the solution, right? It's so hard for you to find the problem staring at the problem, right?
Exactly.
Make it move.
Well, and I think, you know, it's funny, but one of the reasons I love problems is because you don't get bored, you know, and when we get to that part of, okay, my story and why are you in this business? I chose the car business because literally it is the only thing I looked at and said, you'll never get bored, because there's no end. The mountain doesn't stop. There's no mountain that ends when you're talking about the car business. And that was my love and why I fell in love with the car business. And they said, hey, the problems never end, which means you never can check mark a box that says I'm done. And that was something I just didn't like about a lot of other opportunities or businesses that I had looked at or considered early. Well, honestly, in my childhood, because I've been doing this for forever now, but that was a problem I had. I genuinely would get bored with a business and say, I'm done. Like, I'm going to quit, not because I'm not good or you guys aren't good to me or I don't like what I do. It's just, I've hit the top, I've done it all, and there's nothing left for me to do. So I got to do something else. And that was why I chose this as a career, not as a job. I looked at the automotive industry and said, this is something that there are so many levels and there's so many layers and there's so many things. And this is why I want to do this. And, 20 something years later, here I am still loving it, still doing it, still learning every single day. And not bored. I'm never, ever, ever, never bored. And that's what I love about it. And that's what I'm hoping going forward when we start talking about trying to get people to consider automotive as a career, not a job, but as a career, that we can get that out to them.
Come on. That's what I'm talking about. There's so many incredible people that are here that have joined us tonight. And I just want to shout them out real quick before we get on to the next question, which you almost took out.
Yeah, you're like you. It's like
can tell
you obviously know you.
I might have listened to.
We might have to switch up our last 3 questions. We do have a whole other lineup. We just love the way these questions are put together.
Here we go.
She's like, hold on, I've already written.
Yeah, I got this.
She is totally a solutionary. I mean, come on.
Is okay? I'm gonna bust roll my own self because this is what I do. If you're gonna make yourself laugh, you have to like bust roll yourself. So I will bust roll myself. Do I have notes?
Nothing wrong with that. That is why you need to show up. You're teaching me things. I'm actually learning from you right now. I need to start doing that more. Honestly, because sometimes I do. I get kind of confused or lost in the sauce, as I call it. Right? It's because I didn't. I do a pretty good job. I write notes down. I do all that type of stuff too. But sometimes I get to just going, and then all of a sudden I'll look at Lou like, where am I? Save me.
Like, we got this.
Where did this all start so I can go back to where I started?
I fair one friend. I said, you're going to have to rein me in because I have a tendency to like get on these things and I get passionate. And so I'll start rambling and I'll just go and go and go. And then you're like, this is supposed to be an hour.
That happens. That's what happens. Yeah. Hey, inside of a good cafe, you find yourself there way longer than you expected to be in there and way longer than it takes to have an actual cup of coffee, right? And that's what's awesome about cafes. It's an area where you can relax and get energized. And we are energized by some of the people that have dropped inside of the cafe tonight. Thank you for being at this rare late night with the Solutionaries. But Michael Larkin, brother, welcome to the cafe. Thank you so much for being here. Jason Grimes, thank you for joining us.
Appreciate that.
Tim Wilson, thank you.
That's
brother,
my dude.
For always being in here.
And congratulations to Timothy. He's closed his first account recently with his
new
company, Nitrosville. Go, my man. Keep growing, bro.
Jay and Amanda, thank you so much for being in here. Jay, love you, brother. Michael Larkins talking about you are #CGC approved, which we will make sure to give you that stamp a little bit later.
No doubt.
Eric is talking about how you rock and loving your energy. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for being with us, Eric. Folks, this is a special brew, not just because we have a keynote speaker that knows how to shake up the game, knows how to not just find a way to flow and creating a career, but knows how to adjust the current inside of the industry or inside of a dealership. So let me ask you this, because we understand why you're in the business, because you love solving problems. You love fixing things. Why was it so key that you created the position that you created at the store? What was the need for the position that you created that didn't exist?
So I have to explain a little bit about where my business history as far as how I got into the car business. So we have to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
I grew up in Nebraska. I'm in Arizona now. I grew up in Nebraska, small town, USA. And I knew when I graduated early from high school that I wanted to be in business. I didn't know what kind of business or what exactly I wanted to do. And I found myself working at a bank. And at this bank, I very quickly went from teller to working in the drive-through, and then they put me in the loan department. Well, this was back before, we didn't even fax applications. This is when the finance managers at the car dealerships would bring the applications to the bank. And we would all sit down and say, okay, yes, we'll approve this for that. And here's what rate it'll be for this. This was before fax machines. So way before, the dealer tracks of the world and all this kind of stuff. So suddenly, you get to know these guys. And I'm like, hey, I mean, you would never think of this being a job. I said, hey, this seems like really awesome. I mean, some of these finance managers make more than the president of this bank. And he has a degree and all these crazy things, right? So and they get to wear fun clothes and have a good time, and this seems like something I want to look into potentially doing. So I fell into the 50%. I fell into the business, right? It was an accident. It wasn't something that when I was growing up I'm like, I'm going to be in the car business. And I find people go in one of two categories. Either your family is car business, so you understand car business and you kind of fall into it that way, or you fall into it by accident, which is kind of what happened to me. I fell into it by accident and realized that it was something I wanted to do. Now, here's what happens to a lot of people who, like me, was like, I'm going to go be a finance manager at a car dealership. You think that's so easy to do. Yeah, it's not how it works, right? You have to learn how to sell, and you have to learn about the car dealership, and you have to learn about all these different things. Yep. And so that's kind of what happened to me. I moved to Arizona in 99. So I did all the other side of the car business from the banking side. And then when I moved to Arizona in 99, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I had finally said, I've sold insurance. I've been in the banking. I really want to go to this side of it. And I want to go figure this out and be in finance. So I went to the car dealership, and I was young, and I couldn't really afford to pay my bills off commission. It scared the ever-loving bejeebus out of me. And I said, hey, what do I need to do? So I actually worked in the office and did backup finance and sold cars. And so I kind of did it all, just kind of did a little bit of everything and learned that way. And it was a small store. It was Cadillac, Oldsmobile, Hummer, and Saab. So it was a smaller store. So everyone wore a lot of hats, and we moved through a lot of different things. And at some point I ended up moving into finance. And so I spent 8 years in finance, and then realized at about year 5 that I hated finance.
No.
And of all jobs that I would ever do again in the car business, it is the last job that I want to do. Just because it did get to a point of being boring, right? Because I got to that spot where I'm like, okay, let's go through your menu. Let's talk about the products. Let's talk about it's all the same stuff. So it got a little bit boring. So I really fought hard. I wanted to be on the desk, and there wasn't many, to be a female to get to the desk back in those days, especially, was like unheard of, especially in a big city. It was really unheard of. So I had to really fight to be like, look, I can cuss with the best of them. They're not going to embarrass me or make me feel bad. Like, it's fine. I've got this. And I fought really hard and had a couple people take a chance on me. And I became a desk manager. And I worked for Toyota. So I worked for really big stores at this point, managing a lot of people and a lot of car deals and doing the whole thing. So I spent 7 years as a retail desk manager. And I had my general manager come to me one day and say, April, I keep hiring internet people and they can't sell. You can sell. I need you to go learn the internet. And I'm like, I think you got the wrong girl. I'm pretty sure you got the wrong girl, because even my dad knows that if he sends me an email that he should call me first and say, hey, honey, I sent you an email. Will you check it? Because I don't check my email. And I was the last person to go from a flip phone to like any sort of smartphone. And I still had cassette tapes and things of this nature, right? So I'm like, I don't know that I'm the right person to do this, but I also understood that if I wanted to be a general manager someday, which that was my dream, if I want to be a general manager someday, the business is going that direction. You need to know and understand it and go learn that side of the equation. So I went into the internet department the following month, and very quickly, I don't like to do things half-ass, and pardon the French, but I don't do things that way. So I needed to understand everything about internet. It wasn't just a little bit. So I called every single vendor in and I said, okay, explain everything to me. And I really would pit them against each other. So then, because I didn't know anything. I mean, generally knew nothing. So I'd have one vendor come in and they'd tell me all the bad things about the other vendor. And then when that vendor came in, I sounded all smart. I was like, so tell me about this. And tell me about that. And I knew nothing, but I learned a lot of stuff that way. And then I signed up for every class, and I went to every class I could. And then all of a sudden I had this moment. I went, okay, so this is really common sense. All those same retail steps of the sale, we just need to do it back here on the phone and email. So being a person still mattered. Selling yourself, selling the dealership, like all these things, building rapport still mattered. Yes. So everyone was like, April, what's your secret sauce? Because immediately we skyrocketed. And I said, there is no secret sauce. It's the same sauce we've been shelling since 1985. It's the same thing. It's just in this other lane. And so that was really all I did. And that's kind of where I started. And I started
credit.
Come on.
You know, you learn. And I learned more and more and more. And as I continue to grow,
that's right.
You gotta throw it in there.
Yeah.
As I continue to grow, I realized that this whole marketing, I didn't, have a marketing degree or learn marketing or do any of these things. I just realized that, wait a minute, we spend a lot of money, and I want to make sure that these opportunities that I'm getting are the proper opportunities, because it comes out of my paycheck. So I should probably care about this stuff.
Amen.
So I started researching and learning more stuff. And again, I took my days off and I would go to, these roundtables, and I would do these things. And I started kind of learning before the introduction of the lead, and started to try to figure that stuff out. So fast forward, in another couple opportunities that I had with Toyota and just learning, and they really kind of give me a little bit of wings. They gave me some baby wings, and they were like, okay, well, yeah, if you say we should try this, let's try this, and let's try this. And so I got a little bit more confidence in what I was doing, and suddenly realized where I was at. There was no opportunity for me to go above the position I was in, and you know what I'm talking about. There's dealer groups where you're like, there's 50 people in line who've been there since they were 18 that you're not going to get to being a general manager above them until they go through all of these people. And I don't want to be working and become a general manager when I'm 80. Like, I'm hoping I'm sipping Mai Tais at that point.
I understand that. Oh, yeah.
So I had this opportunity to go with another group who brought me in as a basically, honestly, a titleless person, because they were like, okay, she's kind of the working GSM, but we're not going to give her that title. We're just going to kind of bring her in because she does all these things and she grows teams, and that's what she's great at. And so let's just do that. So that's kind of what happened with my intent of becoming a general manager. That store broke me. Every bad story you've ever heard about the car business was in play at this place. Okay. And it genuinely broke me. And this was a moment that I realized, okay, maybe I don't want to be a general manager. Maybe as much as I love problem solving, and as much as I would love to, wear that crown and that I can do the job, it's really hard on my soul. Making hard decisions for me was hard for me to come home with that, knowing that I had to do it, but I hated it. I hated making those really tough decisions because I carry it home, and it was really tough for me. So I had this aha moment of realizing, what really I would love is to find that group that understands that they need a person to help their general manager, basically be the translator. And right, we're speaking English, but if you have general managers who don't understand internet, and they don't understand marketing, and they don't understand where things are going, they don't listen to most vendors, right? I mean, they love y'all, but they don't listen to you. They don't really listen to you because you don't understand their pain points. Whether you do or don't is irrelevant. They feel like you don't. So there becomes this moment where I was like, okay, but they listen to me because I've done all these jobs. I have the ability to speak their language, but also understand the need for moving forward in this growth. And so if I can find a group that's willing to take a chance and understand that you need somebody to negotiate your vendors, to hold your vendors accountable, to be willing to take risks and find out what they need for their store, and not just what their OEM or this vendor told them, but somebody who can actually look at what's happening, that's what they need. So when I got called by my current group to come in and interview, they thought they were interviewing me to basically be a potential future general manager for one of their stores. I said, honestly, I'm not really interested in that. This is the job I think you need for your group. And that's really what I want to do. And they said, okay, well, we don't totally disagree. And we talked about it. And so they called me the next day and said, okay, well, would you be willing to come into one of our locations is an internet director, so we can get to know you, you get to know us before we kind of, put you upstairs. And I said, okay. So I went in 8 months later. They said, okay, let's bring you upstairs. And the rest is history. But my job has grown and grown and grown. And, a lot of times we talk about having a seat at the table. And I am genuinely blessed because I genuinely feel like I have a seat at the table with my group. We talk about everything. My general managers and I talk about everything. I don't make the decisions, but I get to give my opinion. So I'm super opinionated, but I don't have to take home the crowd anymore. So it's like a win-win-win for me.
Yeah,
and we're perfect.
What's the mob called? The
consigliere.
Yeah, the consigliere.
Yeah.
And that's that's a beautiful thing to be, and I love that you found your role, you found where your heart is and where you feel the most comfortable and where you can use your superpower of the problem solving that you do to be able to help your team, help your leaders, and help yourself lead and be sitting at that table. But you say, luck. You were not lucky.
No, there's no luck in that.
You did so much work there. You were persistent. You worked through everything. You figured out what you were good at, what you weren't, what you were your favorite thing, what kind of pressure that you want to have on yourself, how you can help the most at a dealership in an auto group. And you found that and you created that. Congratulations to you for finding that. That is an amazing story. I'm so glad we got to hear that. That's why I wanted to have you on the show, because I wanted to hear this. This is the stuff that people, all you out there, I know you're watching this and you're like, wow, what excuses do you have, right? This is a woman in the industry who came up back when it was before we're talking pre-deal. It was crazy. I know. I was part of that world. I've seen what it was like. It was not good. And to be able to take those and knock down all those pins and strike out. I love it. I love she's striking. Not striking out as in baseball strike. I'm talking about like with bowling, like pins down, all 10 of them, right?
I actually was a really good bowler.
I had a feeling, gut feeling, telling me the states that you lived in before. That's like
right.
It's like a thing you could do year round, right? So, like, I love bowling too. I'm a big bowler. I love it. Matter of fact, we're brother sister stores. Our stores are. I always say sister store, but it's each other's store. We're like in the same group, right? But we beat them in bowling every year. They haven't beat us. They beat us in other trophies, and we'll take it back. But bowling, they can't beat us because you got this guy right here. So anyway, I love it. I'm very competitive. He knows it. Everybody knows it.
I'll send you. I'll have to have my mom send me a picture, but there's still an entire shelf of all my bowling trophies. So look at you.
I love that, man. You just got that much cooler in my folder. Like points just went up. It added to that. So cool. Wow. No, seriously, your story is so inspiring. Honestly, you really put the work in. You earned everything you had. You didn't work. You were not given this. You earned it. Beyond, like you said, and this is no joke, folks, and I want you guys to hear this. If the average man that comes up in the business does not have to jump those hoops she just jumped through, it's facts. He would have been given an opportunity to be a general manager probably well before that. It would have been all kinds of stuff, but yet she's doing it with a smile on her face. She's doing it so humbly. I love that. And it's amazing. That's why other young people, young women who are coming up in this business hear your story. They're going to know I can do it. And you carved a path for them. You showed a path of how they can. I love that. Thank you for sharing that so much. Awesome.
It's awesome. Go ahead. I don't want to cut you off. By all
means. No, you're good. I think the only thing that women really like, it's the one thing that I struggled with early on and I've gotten better and better about, but you just really got to carry yourself within a bubble because women are natural salespeople. I mean, as hard as it was to actually have to walk through the mud and the crap and to kind of get through it all, honestly, at the end of the day, so much of it just came naturally to me. It was super easy. And when you're a problem solver, selling cars was not a hard thing for me. It was really, really easy. The hard thing for me was everybody not wanting to see you succeed. And that's not a female thing. This happens to males too.
It does. It does.
When you're succeeding, people always want to bring you down. And as long as you can learn to create like a bubble around yourself or a boundary that says you're not going to bring me down to your level and you're not going to make me be negative and I'm going to continue to have an optimistic outlook on things. That is the only thing that advice wise I can give people to say, look, just don't get drugged down by the people who want to bring you down. If you just stay above that, swim above that, you're golden. It's not that difficult.
I love that. And that is true. That is a life lesson for man, woman, child, adult, does not matter. What those things are just distractions. People, when they see somebody doing something that makes them feel uncomfortable, which is grow and do something that's outside most comfort zones, right? Where people, they don't want to bring you back down because they don't want to feel like they're the only ones not doing it. So they want to make you, okay, you know, it's like those old friends that you had that you're no longer friends with, right? Most of us have them. When you did something great, they always get told you how bad it was. Why are you doing that? It's so stupid. You know, you're wasting your time, when it really is they are wasting their time in life. They want other people to sit down and do nothing with them. And it's sad, but it's true. So get away from that. When you're at a dealership, man, woman, doesn't matter. You're right. The people hate. But you know what? And I love to say this, you're not doing something great unless you have a bunch of hate, right? And if you see
this, I don't know if you can read this on there. It says, hustle until your haters ask if you're hiring.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Amen. Yes. Are you, by the way? I'm just kidding. But that being said, I absolutely
always. Hashtag always hiring.
Me too. So yeah, I love that. So we have some amazing people just dropping some stuff. Blessed. You know, Timothy says, blessed, yes, but you also worked your ass off too. We have Jennifer Swope, Scarborough. She's a local legend here. I know you met her at I'm sure you met her. I hope you did, because she's an amazing young owner right now. She's doing some amazing things, changing the culture at her store. Thank you for being here tonight, Jennifer. I see you. I see she's doing some big things. And then we got very inspiring. Yes, very inspiring. I'm so excited about this. So, wow. Go ahead, bro.
There's a lot. But I want to just take this moment for anybody that is listening and did hear April's story. And if you didn't, go back, rewind, listen to it, whether it's the replay, whether it's right after this is done. But folks, there's a big piece that's inside her story that is inspiring. It's not just on the cliche side of inspiring, but it should activate something inside of you that maybe you're waiting for someone to get it for you to go. Maybe you're waiting for people to understand you before you start going where it is that you know you're supposed to go. You're creating the thing that you're supposed to create. Don't wait for them to get it. Just go. They'll get it later when you explain to them how you did it, right? If you have something in your heart, go for it. If you really want to achieve something, forgive yourself for holding yourself back and anybody else that did hold you back. Focus on where it is you want to go. You will go where you gaze. And fly there, right? You said raise above those things, right? You did. You raised above it. And the thing that I love about what women do, and my wife impresses me, all women impress me, how many things you all can juggle and create and things that you can solve.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. Now, us guys are we can be tasked. We can handle tasks differently. The thing is that you all do it at a different level of grace. Right. And it is inspiring. And that is something that needs to be heard elsewhere. Sometimes a position has to be created because there's the need for it. Right. Sometimes we don't know why something has to be decorated a certain way. We don't get it. We don't think with both sides of our brains. Right. Us guys, you women see things in a different light. You feel things differently, and it's OK. But I want to make sure that we are raising a standard to where it's OK for you to be exactly who it is that you're supposed to be. We can be who we're supposed to be. And inside of this, there is a great honor that we're having in opening any door that we can for anybody to speak up about the challenges it is that they have, but the great news that they've had in achieving great things in the midst of those challenges. And it's people like you that are brewing solutions. And I love it. Yeah. I love it. And I know there's a lot of people that I love that have inspired you to get there.
You can get Lou talking on that type of stuff, and you got him so inspired. We're all peas of a pod here.
And I agree. And it's been kind of, it's awesome for me to have like-minded people to be able to have these conversations with, and it's truly validating. It's humbling and it's validating at the same time, because for me, for a really long time, and this is the hard part about being on the dealership side, we're busy mofos, right? Like I run all day, and especially previously down on the ground floor, we'll work 100-hour weeks and we're just going. And you don't get those opportunities to have these conversations and to validate where you're at, where you're going, where you've been. And it's a great opportunity that I think everybody should carve some sort of time out for. So some of my friends who have validated me and kind of helped push me out there a little bit. I honestly didn't even have a LinkedIn account 4 months ago. 4 months ago, did not have a LinkedIn account. And I'll tell you what, I always feel bad if I'm not responding or if I'm not taking care of everyone, right? Whether it's the mother in me or just me, I just always have that part of me. That's probably why I'm good at, sales, because if you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it. So I always had that need to get back to people, and I didn't want to feel bad about it. And when you're a dealer, you're kind of like the minnow getting put out there with all the sharks who says we're hungry, and they would just, you're going to get 9 million vendor messages of I want to sell you something, I want to sell you something. And so that was what held me back from LinkedIn. It wasn't that I had this, I don't want to talk to people. It was just, it's overwhelming. It's too much. And I don't want to tell everybody, no. Right. I do that all day as it is. So they finally were like, yeah, you just ignore them. You say what you want to who you want, and you just ignore everybody else. And I'm like, yes. Okay, I can do that. And, it's been awesome because there have been a lot of conversations that have blown from that or grown from that. And it's really great to know that there are a lot of other people who feel the same way, who think the same way, who align with what you're saying. And when you have validation, it's easier to say, we're on the right path. We're doing it. So it's super, super duper exciting. And I'll segue into one of my favorites because you said, like, not to be cliche. I love cliches. Like I think I have 3,000 of my own. Almost every way I explain something is with some sort of like my own either created one or one that I've taken because they've been around since forever. But I love them. And one of my favorite ones, and Evelyn, we all know Evelyn. I love her. She's me too. Her and Justin, like just awesome people.
She's everything. The best.
She's like literally one of my hearts. She has posted a couple of times and she's like, I really use this. And I'm like, I know, I use it for absolutely everything. And it's facts, not feelings. And it is one of those things that I had to teach myself. I'm actually most people don't know this, but I'm super emotional. I'm really, really empathetic, like way on that side as far as that goes. And most people don't know that because I've been in the business forever. I've learned how to be like, yeah, I'm good. But I am. So I had to say, okay, how can I make sure that I make good decisions when it comes to everything, realistically, everything. And so I started teaching myself how to look at the facts, how to look at things like Google Analytics and how to look at what's actually happening. And that was how it started for me. It was from that. But then facts, not feelings kind of became a lot of everything. It became the counseling, so to speak, that I do with different people. So if I have a manager who, is way off freaking out, because they like to do that, right? They're freaking out. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about the facts of this. Is this reality or is this maybe just you had a really rough day and this happened right here? So it really became kind of a apply to everything situation that I could do was this facts, not feelings. And some of that even being in things like text messages I receive from somebody, you get them, right? There's that person who is maybe rude to you one time. And so we have this perception that everything they now say is going to be rude to us.
Right.
But you go back and you reread it and you go, if somebody else had sent that to me, those same words, would I be having this reaction inside? Maybe not. So I need to check the fact of it before I react to it.
I love it.
And so that's just kind of become one of my, my core management things. And I've realized that everything falls in a yin and a yang. Everything falls in a left brain or a right brain. Everything falls into a fact or a feeling. And when we can bring those things into perfect harmony and balance, that's growing. That's growing to me, is the perfect balance between any of those two things.
Man, you are dropping straight knowledge, straight bombs in here. That's what I'm talking about. This is what I'm saying. Imagine her on a stage. You know what I mean? Like just bringing it just with passion the way she's doing it right now. And this is just at your home at night in front of her computer. And, you know, we're doing this all digitally after a full day of work, right? So I want to thank you so much for being here once again and dropping this. So we're talking about people in your life. We're talking about influences. We're talking about things that you've done. What I really want to ask you is who's helped you? Who's been some great mentors? Matter of fact, who's been your greatest mentor in the automotive industry so far?
Ooh, that one's tough. That one's genuinely tough because I think it's so many people. Kind of like the why, right? It changes and grows differently through different parts of your life. But the people who motivate me the most are the ones that go a lot of times, not even in the car business, but a lot of times it is the people who have actually hit those mountains that had it way tougher than I did. So, and a lot of people look at me and they're like, April, you had it pretty tough. Like, you know, you were a girl in the car business before it was a thing. And you were, you know, you were a young person in the car business when it was hard and you worked those and you did that. And I say, yeah, but you know, I just sell cars. It's not life or death. I live in America, you know, I have so many foundational blessings. Why do I want to squander them? So my motivation a lot of times is just saying, look, you already have, you know, so many positive things going on. Why in the world do you want to woe is me or cry about anything? Just go out there and do your best and show everyone else by example. You know, people say, hey, how do you get people to do things? I'm like, well, I just do it. And then they see me doing it, and then they're going to feel guilty if I'm doing it for them. Right. And so then they just automatically kind of do things, right? And if you have the right attitude about it and you're not beating everybody up, it just tends to work really well. Now, you know, everybody has different ways of going about it, but that's how I manage, is just by example. So if I have a good attitude and I do the work, then it's fine. So my motivation comes from the people around me. It always has. You know, I know there's a lot of women that have really motivated me recently, and a lot of them because they do amazing things. But when you hear their personal stories, you know, somebody like Maria, I mean, that is somebody who climbed an effing mountain, right? Like this is somebody who has climbed a mountain. Okay. I grew up in this country. I learned English growing up through my normal, you know, those are the women who motivate me, where I'm like, wow, that is unbelievable to me what you have had to go through to get to where you are, you know? So I just recognize my foundation, and that motivates me. Some of the other people that have motivated me are honestly the people that it's the appreciation, it's the validation, it's when you realize you've changed somebody's life. That is what makes me get up again and want to do it again. So every negative thing that happens, and there's plenty, right? You know, 20 plus years, I could sit here and talk about all the negative stuff that's happened, all the negative stuff that still happens, but I choose to be proud of where we've come.
Come on.
You know, that's the difference. A lot of people are still in this, like, let's talk about all how bad it is and how we need to force people to change. I don't believe in force, because honestly, I think it creates more divide. I believe changing one heart and one mind at a time, and that's how we inflict change. And that takes some time, but I'm like genuinely, I mean, when I look at how I started and how we are now, I'm proud. I'm proud of where we are, and I'm proud of where we continue to go. And it may not be as fast as some would like, but I think we've come a really long way in a really short period of time. So let's keep growing in those directions.
Come on.
Yeah.
Oh my God, April
Wow.
Simmons dropping
it.
Not seriously. That was probably my favorite answer to that question. You really brought it from your heart. I see what you mean by being so empathetic, because you definitely brought that out there. I feel it. I feel you, and I feel that you feel other people, and that's why you're inspired by so many different sources, every single day. That is so right on with that. I love that. And I love your process and the way you thought about that answer and how you delivered that answer. To me, when you're talking about that, when you're talking about helping people that's just even native, like it's so true. Every single day, 20 years, you've helped so many people. That's why we are so blessed to be in this business. This business is a life changers for people. It's not just for us. It's not just for our salespeople. It's not just for the people who work at, it's the customers, it's their families, it's their kids that they got to be in something reliable and safe. So their parents it just keeps going and going, and it's amazing that you can see that and you talk about that's huge, that inspires you, that mentors you in a way, that pushes you to be better, that pushes you to grow, that keep growing. Right. And I love that. Thank you so much for answering it. Honestly, you really, like, when I kept looking at Lou, like, wow. Like, I think I said wow 15 times in that answer. But that's really amazing. I think that if people who just watch that and witness this right now, I think they all feel the same way I'm talking, is that is a true way of thinking. Like, the word solutionary is not even big enough. And I think solutionary is pretty big, because we are solutionaries, but that is really, man, that's human being. That's called being a real human being. And when you can figure out a way to be a real human being and do what you love, look what happens, and you're just beginning this. I know you say 20 years, but it's just beginning for you. And you know that. I think you know that too. This is what's so cool. We're all just beginning. I'm almost 20 years in the business myself, and it's just beginning. And every day we get a chance to be better and show people how to be better. We don't force them to be better. Right. We show them, hey, like you said, you lead by example. You get to work, you do what you're supposed to do. They start doing it because they see you doing it and they see it works, right? I love that. You are great. Thank you so much.
With even 20 years in the business, and we have the decades underneath us collectively here, and our foundation is just now cooling off. It is just now to the point to where you're really able to start bringing in the walls and starting to build and starting to decorate and starting to see what it is that was dug out of dirt. Right? We dug out the dirt. We laid a whole new foundation down. We poured it out, determined this is how we're going to grow this thing. Right? We've seen a lot of things, a lot of garbage in the business. And I love that you honor forward. You honor the people that have got you here. You've honored the people that you've served and you've taken care of. You've honored the positions that you've held, and even honored them to the point of saying, no, I'm really not the one for this. People work their whole life to get to the positions that you've turned down and recreated a new route and redirected the stream like a canal, right? And it's good that you didn't speak about the problems too much, right? That's not how you got where you were. You solved problems. You spoke about solutions.
Brew solutions, not percolate problems, right?
No percolating problems around these parts. But there were many problems that you did overcome, many solutions that you did find, many challenges that you came to. What has been the hardest lesson that you've had to learn getting to where you are doing what you're doing now?
Ooh, okay. I think the hardest lesson for me was truly trying to find my own personal balance. And we talk a lot and there's a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of conversation about this, especially in automotive, and how to find the balance. And when I talk about balance, I'm not just talking about the time balance, because for car dealers, that's probably one of the biggest, hardest spots, is that time balance. I sacrificed a lot. I have a 20-year-old son. And I sacrificed a lot while he was growing up. I missed a lot of things because mom was working. But I also knew how to say, okay, it's Tuesday and we missed, whatever celebratory thing on Sunday because I was working, but we're going to make it up and it's Tuesday. And to me, that was balance. So that's okay. And it was okay for me in that time. But the hardest thing for me was to find my own personal balance, how to find a way to build those boundaries so that the mean things that people said to me and the mean things that people did to me didn't affect me day after day after day or week after week, or when somebody did tell me no, that I didn't hold myself back for too terribly long and I could actually move forward. That balance was a little bit tougher than just even the time balance. So finding ways to ask myself those, hey, is this a fact or is this a feeling? And can you just kind of pull that in and ask yourself that? That was harder for me. That was a really big lesson when I figured out how to ask that question, because it allowed me to let go of things much more easier when I took myself out of my empathetic brain and said, okay, come over here away from the emotion for a second. Let's look at this in reality zone, and brought myself to a balance. So I'm not giving away the love that I have over here. I'm just recognizing the other side to it so that I don't get hurt by it.
Come on.
And that balance took a little bit longer to figure out. And that was a huge, huge lesson for me.
Wow. That's worth rewinding, folks. Rewind that back. If you're listening to this on the podcast, if you're watching this live, and if you're watching this on the replay, rewind that. Wow. I mean, speaking of balance, right? You got to have a good balance inside of your cup. This is your cup. You're sipping the solutions. You got to find balance inside of it. If you don't like the coffee that you're drinking, brew a different cup of coffee, right? Make something different happen inside of your life. And you did that.
I love it.
And everybody's family's different. And the problem that I feel like we get too caught up inside of, it's the comparative, right? We're always comparative because we're so competitive. Yeah. But being competitive doesn't mean that we have to be so comparative. Fred's going to be Fred. I'm going to be me. And though we may have the same mission inside of the titles of the job, right? Ultimately, it's always solving the problem like you've made your entire career. It's making sure that you're solving that problem, and you're also solving the problems with you, because you're not helping anybody survive if you don't have your mask on, right? It's so important that you do that. I love that you brought that. Car guys, car gals, sip on that. Wow, yes. That was good stuff.
Woo! I'm serious. This has been an amazing night so far. I mean, we're really talking about, I'm telling you, you're a legend, and you're going to become the biggest legend ever. I love it. And what you're talking about,
legendary
status, right? We are legendary, right? So I absolutely love this story. I love everything that we've been talking about tonight. I'm so inspired. I really am. I'm like wide-eyed. I've been drinking this coffee. I'm all pumped up. I'm excited. Thank you so much for being with us. We've asked 4 questions already. The first one was the why. The second one is what brought you in this business and how you created. We talked about mentorship and people that have inspired you. We've talked about the greatest lesson. I think you know what the last question is. What has been the greatest reward from all this stuff that you've been through? Everything from this business. What has been the greatest reward up to this point?
Well, and that's a twofer. The greatest reward is when I do get to see the fruits of my labor and that problem solving come full circle. So that to me has been one part of this huge reward. A good example of that is I took a chance on somebody, and I believe when I hire for effort and attitude, not for experience. So I can train how to sell a car. I can train you how to answer emails. I can't give you effort and attitude. You have it or you don't. And I've taken a lot of flack in the years for doing that, because people are like, you hired somebody for the internet and they haven't even sold a car and they should be on the retail floor first and yada, yada, yada. So I had this guy that I hired, and this is one of my favorite moments. He, used to be a door-to-door salesman, and he did the trade shows and he did stuff like that. And he worked really, really hard. And I brought him directly into internet and I showed him how to do it. Well, he not only became salesman of the month, he became salesman of the year, because he outsold everyone month after month after month. And he took a lot of beatings, oh, you don't even know what this is. You don't know how to do that. And he had sticky notes and brochures and was just teaching himself how to do stuff. And he really was a solutionary. He did a lot of really, really cool things to help himself and to help our team. But 2 years later, and I had left and gone on to another spot. On New Year's Eve, I got a text message from him that was about this long. And it just was this huge thank you on how I changed his life, how I put him in a place that he never pictured himself. I kept him out of a bad neighborhood that, before that was all he could afford to live at. And so he didn't hear sirens every night. And I mean, it just went on and on and on. And I will tell you, that was really a moment for me that hit me right where I was like, yes, that's why you do this. This is why we bring people into this business. It's a great career. They just don't know it. And we have to be willing to take chances on people who have effort and attitude and train them, and not say, well, if you haven't been doing this since you were 15 and started as a lot attendant, then you got no place here. Let's start bringing people and giving them a chair and give them an opportunity before we shut them out. And that is the first step on that side. So that's one thing. One other one that I have to share. I had a team when we had the economy crash in 2008. I had a team of Greenpeace, and being here in Arizona, we didn't get hit as hard with COVID, but we got hammered hard when 2008 happened. We were one of the worst hit when it comes to that. Yeah. And I really had a hard time, because here I've got these people who don't know. They don't understand a downturn. They don't understand what's going on. And I'm trying to bring a team together and try to say, okay, we got to start thinking outside the box, and we got to kind of find ways to do that. We got to talk to service. We got to do all the things we haven't done. And I genuinely believe that sometimes bad times, and we've dealt with a lot of that the last couple of years, but bad times are our opportunity to create good habits for our future. And so during this time, I literally spent, and we read Who Moved My Cheese with this team. I literally read this book for 10 minutes every day. Everyone took a turn reading in this group of Greenpeace, because they needed to understand nobody likes change. Nobody likes to do things outside of the box. That's one of the hardest things in this business. So we have to force ourselves that Kool-Aid to understand there's reasons why we need to do that. So this team, I mean, they're still some of my very best people. I still have such fond memories of one of the worst times of my life, because this team came together, they worked together, and they survived and thrived in a horrible part of our time. So those moments to me are super duper rewarding. And I've had so many little ones like that. Like, just when you're ready to throw in the towel, doesn't it seem that the universe gives you that win? It's just kind of how it happens. So that has always happened for me. And I love that. But the other really big reward is where I'm currently at. And, it goes back to having a seat at the table. I feel genuinely appreciated in what I do every day. I feel that my opinions are not only heard, but implemented. And I feel like I have that seat at the table. And for me, that is kind of the ultimate reward, right? It's like you're genuinely here, and that validation is big. And it's still hard for me to accept praise, and I think, and I don't know if that's just me, but I think it's a hard thing for anybody who's a people person. Like, I like to give. Receiving's a little uncomfortable,
right?
And that's just part of it. So I'm trying in that spot, right? That's the forgive, focus, fly is to say, okay, first of all, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for any mistakes you've made. Forgive yourself for this spot, so that you can actually say that you deserve where you're at. And in order to do that, you have to forgive yourself. So I think that's for me is my greatest reward.
Wow. I'm like,
there's so much that was packed in
so much, but yet it's so simple. You know what I mean? It really is. And that's what I love about it. Mm-hmm. It's literally a legacy. Mm-hmm. That's what she's talking about here. She's talking about legacy and the path that she's carved her own. Wow. You're an amazing leader. You're an amazing human being. I'm so glad I can call you my friend. I literally I'm so excited about your future and what you and people around you their future also. Because they're in good hands. They're in hands with somebody who's looking after them, who's trying to make sure that they find that next level in life, that they can forgive their past. Because we are not defined by our past. We can learn from our past, though, and you need to remember it, but don't let it hold you down to where you can't fly. You know, and it's so hard, and it's really hard to focus and fly without letting go of all that stuff. And to have people that can show you, hey, and be the light and what you are. You're a huge this beacon. You're a lighthouse in the middle of a huge storm with a boat that's like, I need to get to shore. And I absolutely love what you're talking about. And I think your people are very fortunate. I think people who are watching the show right now are very fortunate to hear this.
Yes.
If you're a leader, man, woman, black, white, does not matter. If you're a leader right now and you're not leading like this, you're not doing it wrong, but maybe you need to listen a little bit.
What they have room for? Improvement.
Room for improvement. We all do. I mean, April even does, and she knows it. That's why we're all growing, and that's why we talk and have these conversations. It keeps you accountable. It helps you speak these words. She's speaking this into the universe. She is those words. That's what we do. We manifest things in life, and you manifest what you believe. She talks about earlier don't worry about the problems. Worry about solutions. Look for things that make things good, not worry about why they're so bad. Because when you focus on the bad, that's going to happen. That's all you're going to notice. But when you start focusing on solutions and the good things in life and what's going to happen because you're doing these things, they become. That is manifestation. That is beautiful. That is love. That's passion. That's amazing. Like Alex Flores would say, that's amazing. You're amazing.
Kind of Alex Flores.
You know,
go ahead though.
I had one of these minutes the other day, like kind of a similar aha kind of whatever thing, because I deal a lot with, trying to get people to compromise or agree on things, right? And we deal with that a lot as being a leader, because you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 different people and their perception of the exact same thing is so different. And you're sitting here going, how is that really possible that this many people have such a different perception of the exact same thing? And I had this moment where I realized, and it goes back to that text message, right? If I've had a past with them, I read that differently than maybe I would had it not been. And I had this moment where I realized memories are like filters to your perception. So, kind of like Snapchat, right, puts a filter. So it's still you. It's still you. That what happened still happened. But what has happened to you in the past is kind of creating your perception to be slightly different than the person next to you, because they have a different past than you have. Their memories are different than your memories. And so when we start to my why, I guess, it kind of circling all the way back to number 1 is, if I can figure out other people's why, then I can truly lead them to be their best. And that was one of the moments that I realized, if I can figure out their perception, why their perception's here versus here, then I can bring everybody together.
Right. And everybody's why is different.
It is.
Everybody has something.
And every day it changes too. And it could be every moment, it could be something different. And that's,
so I wanted to quote Alex Flores, just because he says that you create bad habits in good times and good habits in bad times. And the people that you've helped take through dark spots, you did it only by turning on the light and shining through the problem, taking them through that challenging time. As a leader, you have incredible people that are in here with us. Lori Foster talking about true leaders care for individuals. You can't get where you're going if you're not helping other people get where they're trying to go.
Amen.
We take each other by the hand. When we fly, we are flying together. When you see an incredible arrangement of birds flying in sequence, you wonder, how is it that they're communicating that way? But everybody's momentum is helping to raise everybody else up. When we're dealing with the challenges that we have, we need leaders like you that are, one, bold enough to tell people that they're worth believing in.
Amen.
That what they believe in is valid, right? You didn't get to the places or accomplishing these mountaintop type of experiences by holding people down and subduing what makes them creative and live. You did it by raising that up and almost digging it out of them. Come here. How about you take a look at this? Your why you haven't seen. I need you to look at that so that you keep that in perspective as you go where you're trying to go. This is the thing that soldiers do. They'll have that picture of what motivates them the most. They'll have that scripture or that verse or that book, that quote, that thing. They'll keep it at their forefront, right? So that they don't miss it. Athletes have it. They'll have their traditions. They'll smack a board that says something inspiring, right? Something that triggers something inside of them. You're doing that inside of other people, and this is what solutionaries do. The filters that you're discussing, my goodness,
I love it. I mean,
jacked up.
I wrote down that quote because I'm using that. And I'm gonna use you as I'm gonna make sure you get credit for that quote. Right. But that is
it all correlates together.
Butter. I love that. Like that is probably one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard. And I mean, seriously, I never even thought about it that way. I mean, wow. Right. So straight up, what a great night. What a great story. What a great 5-liner. What a great everything. You know, the only thing, you know, we haven't talked about is the Suns. What's going on? They were up 2-0. Now they're 2-2. What's going on?
Well, okay. So, and you talk about everybody has their thing, right? And I was just the first thing that went to my mind. And I'm literally like yelling at the TV last night because Devin Booker has, you know, Be Legendary tattooed on his arm. And I just, you think about where that came from and the story for that. And I'm just going, be legendary, be legendary, do it, be legendary. And I think this is their year. I really feel like whether it's 6 or 7, we are pulling it out. It is going to happen. The Suns are going to win it this year. They deserve to win it this year. I'm super, super excited. And the crazy part is, it's not even so much for me. I'm like, this is one of, again, those moments. I want them to win so badly for my son. My son has been a huge Suns fan his entire life, like huge fan. And they've never been good his whole life. And he stayed true to them. You know, he didn't jump bandwagon out somewhere else. And he's always, and it's been his sport. It's always been basketball and it's always been his thing. And so it's just an exciting year for him. You know, he didn't get a high school graduation because he was a 2020 grad. And, you know, so just, you know, all those tough things that he lost out on. So I'm like so excited that he gets this Suns this year that I'm like, they have to win.
You know, I tell you, they are an amazing team. They have everything going for them. I think that these last 2 games, especially, I think this last one, even though it ended the way it did, it still was a good sign. It didn't like they didn't get blown away, right? No. You know, and when you have that going back home, come on now, and definitely the Suns blew them away both games at home. They whooped that butt. They wouldn't even close. I know they were kind of scores, but they had control the whole time. And
it's insane.
And I'm excited to see what they do. It's going to happen. I hope to see it finish in 6, but
me too, because I don't know if I can handle the pressure.
I swear the NBA has a little hand in it a little bit, just like, because those calls last night, there was a few that were like, come on, really? Yeah. And then there was a few no calls that were like, really? So I honestly feel like they try to elong this 7-game series. It's money.
Look how much money they make. I've been saying that actually since game 1. Like, we won game 1 and I was like, okay, just keep in mind, like, look around at how much money we went to the arena on the away game. Okay. Right. And they only charged $10 a seat. They sold that out. When you start to put the math to an away game, and that's not thousands of dollars a seat.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like, I could kind of see that they might, you know.
Oh yeah. You're talking television.
Macho Man Randy Savage WWE style this thing, right? A little bit of fake. Kind of like my hair.
Speaking of Randy Savage, right? He was very elaborate.
Oh yeah.
And he did these things with his fingers. And I love it because you did something with your fingers too to promote the Suns to fight tooth and nail. Show us what you're working with.
It's the spirit fingers right there, right?
I tell you, I remember when the Suns, last time they were probably good, when they had KJ, when they had Barkley, that was a heck of a squad. And they were a lot of fun to watch back then. They were dynamic. It's really cool to see that they're doing things. I'm a Dolphins fan, so I know what your son's going through, but I still have gone through a whole life without anything but one Super Bowl that we lost, and that was Marino's rookie year. So anyway, it's been a long time. You're talking since I was like kindergarten, 1st grade.
Okay, so Lou, where is your son going to play football at?
Dordt University in Iowa.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yes, I'm excited.
I had well, so being from Nebraska, right? That's like that's blood, right? You have to have that football is in the blood. In fact, you say Dolphins. It's so funny when I was growing up because we didn't have any pro football teams in Nebraska, so it was kind of just a free for all, and you choose. So I was a big Dolphins fan when I was a little girl because of I like the color. You get to wear teal.
I don't blame you. I love it.
and Dolphins, right? Like it's super super cool. But when I moved to Arizona, I adopted my home team, so now I'm a big Cardinals fan.
Like my shoes that I'm wearing right now, I just pulled one off. They're very Dolphins color-ish. I don't know if you can really tell by that lighting, but
you can.
A little bit of
Very
that.
cool.
Yeah, but anyway, there it is.
Those are hot.
There, yeah. Anyway, so anyhow, Jordan. But the greatest of all time. I don't care. Nobody's greater than Jordan. But anyway, I absolutely love what's going on in your life. I love who you are. I want to thank you for your time because we talk about time is so precious, right? In this world, we all can make more money. We all can do these things, but our time is valuable. So I know this conversation, you giving up an hour and almost a half of your life away from your family that you could have spent is very valuable. And we really honor and really just want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for sharing your story to our audience. And I know that it's going to really bless them. It's going to help them grow and get to that next level. I've posted a few times down. It scrolled a couple times, your LinkedIn connection. So in case anybody wants to hook up with her on LinkedIn, she's only a few months in. But go love on her, like on her. Hey, listen, everybody, send her messages today. If you see this on a replay, send her a nice message. Tell her how amazing she is. Positive messages, telling her how great she is, because she is. She deserves that. I know she's very humble, so she's not one to be like, I need to have that, but she deserves that, folks. She's doing some amazing things in her community, her family, her friends, her network. Everywhere. There's people all over this country, this world. I mean, you're talking right now, Mariah's overseas. Like, she's loving on you. I'm looking forward to seeing her on the show eventually one day too. It's next month, I believe. I can't remember the exact date, but we'll be having her. So make sure you check that out. But tomorrow morning we will be live with Lori Halter. I'm so excited. I know it's a friend of yours.
I told her, I said, okay, I don't know if I can get up that early, girl. Like, I'm just going to tell you, I don't know if I can do it. I might have to go on the replay.
Just check it on the replay. It's fine. We don't expect everybody to watch. Our biggest audience actually is on LinkedIn. We love LinkedIn customers. That's my place. I love that place.
What's up, Wendy?
What's up, Wendy? Wendy's awesome too. And everybody out there for watching, we want to thank you for coming out, supporting April. I know you're getting a lot of y'all see on the replay. Make sure you comment, love on her once again.
Give a cup emojis.
That's right. You know the deal. Folks, we appreciate you. I'm hoping that we get to run into you again. Are you going to be at some more of the events coming up?
I will be in Vegas in October.
We will see you then, because we will be there also.
I will be there.
All right. That's excellent. So we'll see you definitely in October in the Vegas Digital Deal.
We'll do a dance off. We'll bring out 90s. We'll bring the 90s in the house.
We know it.
You know it.
We'll be rocking t-shirts to say world champion sons, right?
Yeah. Yes, but I have to tell you, Fred, after watching your dance off like last week, Lou got you.
Yeah. Lou
definitely. Coordinated moves and everything.
Lou had it going on. Well, he had the privilege of doing it after me, though. It's like, so I put out a quick video, and then what are you going to do? You're going to top it. All you had to, add somebody in there, whatever. That's cool. I'm just playing.
Well,
it was always about.
It was good. It was like, the Phoenix Suns cheerleaders are going to call him for choreography.
For sure.
I'll put on their mascot outfit. That's one of my favorite things.
I'll have to be honest. I'm not the dancer of the two. He's always been the dancer. People just assume I was because of all my videos. But this guy, I dance at the beginning of all my videos, and if you haven't heard this, it helps me smile. So it gets me in a better mood immediately. So I start dancing. I can't help but start to smile, right? And then I go into my quick brew. But that's why I do it. I love to dance anyway. I love music. And everyone's always like, what are you listening to when you do that? So I don't listen to anything. It's the music in my heart and soul. Just get that.
I love it. Yeah. I sing songs to myself, like walking down the hall, and people are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm
jamming. I'm jamming. Yeah.
But I do appreciate that. I do love dancing, and I do encourage all of you all to dance. Love it. It doesn't matter if you got moves or not. Bring what you got to the dance floor. It makes you feel like a child again.
Oh, I had so much.
Love it.
This was such a great interview. Oh my God.
Thank you so much.
Seriously,
I encourage you all continue to follow, see what it is that April's doing. Our friend Jennifer shouted out there saying they had an amazing leader to show them through a tough time. That might be you that's listening right now. That might be you that's watching right now.
Amen.
You may be the leader that somebody else is needing to show them or get them through a tough time. And it doesn't matter if you have a floor of people following you or just the customer that's in front of you. You're leading people to a solution, and we encourage you, continue to brew those solutions, reach in, dig deep within yourself, expose the great thing that's worth shining.
Amen.
And be like our friend April Simmons and keep brewing solutions. Don't percolate problems. Make sure that you keep people over profits and you build relationships over revenue.
Every time.
You know it.
As cliche as that is, we don't care. We
love them.
That's right. That's what we do, folks. Listen,
So thank you.
we want to thank you so much for being here again, April. All you all for coming out and supporting.
Everybody.
It's been a great night. I'm so glad we had this conversation. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Thank you guys so much.
Hey, seriously, right now, I want to go ahead and say it. At Digital Dealer in Las Vegas, you're going to do the follow-up live on our show, sitting in between us. You got to be there.
Gotta do it.
We're going to have a similar last time, so you're in. All right, cool.
That's it.
I'm in. Pencil me in.
We're going to be in. I can't wait to do it live with you. It's going to be a lot of fun. My friends, my folks, my solutionaries, I love you all for being here tonight. I'm Fred.
Sweet dreams, everyone.
And I'm Lou Ramirez, the Car Guy. And we have been brewing solutions on the Car Guy Coffee Podcast with the one, the only, the CGC approved April Simmons. Woo! We're so excited to be brewing solutions with this incredible solutionary. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. We will see you early in the AM with our friend Lori, and we can't wait to keep brewing these solutions. Get you a fresh cup of that Car Guy coffee so that you're ready for the morning, folks. Thank you so much, April. Thank you again.
Oh,
Good
man.
night, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you all.
Go Suns. Let's go.
Hey,
This is our year.
we out, everybody. Peace. Bye. We're still leaving.